Hey guys, so I'm gonna tell the story about when I first found out I had breast cancer because some people didn't know. I first found out in 2012. I don't really remember how I ended up going to the doctor, but I got a mammogram and all that stuff, and that first time when they had told me that I had breast cancer, it was like the size of like a piece of corn is how they explained it. I don't remember anything leading up to that. But yeah, it was in 2012 or 2013. I can't really remember. I ignored it, you know, because I didn't really, I just had so much going on at that time. I was playing basketball, and I was in college, and I just ignored it. So last year, which was 2016, it was like summer, I think it was summertime, like probably June or July. I woke up one morning and I couldn't, like, it hurt up under my arm and like right beside my boob. I didn't know what it was. I was thinking maybe I was just sore from practice the day before. I ignored it. I didn't think anything of it. And I had a game that day, so I was getting ready for my game and stuff, and I just couldn't get rid of that pain up under my arm. I was like shooting around and stuff and playing around before the game, and it just felt like I stretched a muscle or something up under my arm. But later on after that game, I did my normal thing, took a shower, ate, and fell asleep. Well, I woke up, like in the middle of the night. I felt really, really sick. So I went to the bathroom and I threw up. There was a little bit of blood. I was like, well, maybe I just played too hard and ran too much. I don't know. I didn't know what it was. So I went back to sleep, and I woke up the next morning and I felt sick again, and I could not put my arm down for nothing. Like, it was just excruciating pain up under my arm and like by my boob. And I like put my hand on it, on the side of it, and it was like a knot, like a huge knot. And I looked at it, and it was black and blue. It looked like I got punched in the chest or something. So I was like, man, it really hurts. So I kind of ignored it a little bit, and I had it in my head that I got elbowed or hit or something during my game. So throughout the whole day, I was like trying not to put my arm down because it just hurt really bad. And I just went the whole day doing that. And then that night, I had laid down, and I couldn't lay on my right side at all. It was just too much pain. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go to the doctor in the morning. So that next morning, I went to the doctor, and I was like, I told him I had this knot, and I thought that I got elbowed in the chest or whatever during my game. So they wanted to look into it and do a mammogram and stuff, and all that. So I had to go back the next day and schedule an appointment for a mammogram and all that. So this is a really long story, but basically they ran tests on it and stuff. I had to get a biopsy, and just painful. It was just so painful because they were like poking at it and feeling around on it, and I'm like, it hurts. It's like a knot. And it was all bruised up and stuff. I'm like, can you just be a little easier? And they're like, well, we have to figure out what's going on. And they did the biopsy, and I was over it. I was done. I'm like, just leave me alone. Anyway, I found out that the cancer that I had went for in 2012, 2013 had grew and was like spreading into my lymph nodes. I think that's what it's called, up under my arm. So they had told me that it went from the size of a piece of corn to like a quarter. And I was like, I didn't even think of that. I didn't know. I completely forgot that I had breast cancer because it was the size of a piece of corn. I was like, oh, that's nothing, you know. But my mom and my grandma both had breast cancer, and I was like, well, it's nothing, you know. But I ended up finding out that it was stage 2A breast cancer, and it was like spreading, and they had to immediately start treatment. So I started on this pill that I'm on right now. It's well, they put me on tamoxifen last year, and it just basically attacks the cancer. And it was like, it made me sick. I had hot flashes, and I didn't feel like myself. It was just, I didn't like it at all. It worked for a couple weeks, and one day I had to go in for a checkup, and they were like, oh, your body is rejecting the medicine. And I was like, what do you mean it's rejecting the medicine? It's a pill, like it's supposed to attack the cancer. That's what you guys told me. It's gonna work. They were like, well, your body's rejecting it, and we're gonna try something else. Like, we're not giving up. We're gonna try something else. So they did radioablation therapy. It's like where they use a gas and basically just, I think it like burns it or something, or I don't know. But they went in and did that. My body rejected that. I tried it, I think, twice. My body rejected that. So I was just like, well, you know, what else can you do? And they were like, well, we have one more treatment that we would like to try before we push you into chemotherapy. And I was like, oh, okay, it's serious. You know, I didn't really know anything about it, but I was like, okay, chemotherapy, like, that's serious. That's hardcore stuff. So, I was like, alright, well, let's try it. So they had to take this huge needle and push it in there and freeze it. It's like cryoablation, and it's like this huge needled tube looking thing with this block of ice looking thing on the end of it, and they just like go in there and it freezes it or something, and it's supposed to take piece by piece off of the tumor. It was very painful. I had a huge, like, the scar that I have from that is like this big, but they had to keep opening it up in the same spot every time I went in for that treatment, and it was painful. But they would numb the area and stuff, but it was still painful. Like, it was just really sore. So they did that. I think it was like 4 weeks that I had to do that, and it just wasn't working. My body was just so weak at that point. Like, I couldn't eat, I couldn't do anything. So I was like really weak. I couldn't drink anything. And they had to like put me on the IV and put fluids in me the whole time because I couldn't eat, couldn't drink. So we started talking about chemo, and I didn't know how harsh it was. So when I started it, I did the shots, the shot injection chemotherapy. I had to go in and get a shot in my arm, and as soon as I started it, I felt completely different. My mind wasn't working right, like I wasn't thinking right. I couldn't think straight at all. I felt numb and sick, and everything just hurt. My whole body just hurt, and I was stuck on the couch, like I couldn't move or anything, and it was so crazy. I couldn't imagine anybody just who had cancer any more serious than I did, just staying in the hospital and just being in that much pain, and it's crazy. But yeah, I did chemotherapy for like I can't remember. That's how bad it had me. But in December of last year, I started like getting my energy back, and I was like, okay, you know, it's working, and I didn't know what was going on, and I felt so good this one day that I woke up. I can't remember, but it was in December. I felt so good. I got up, I made brownies with Aiden and all that stuff. I don't know, we just had like a really good day. Then we went to sleep. Everything just felt so normal. And I woke up the next day, and like I kind of felt good. I felt good enough to, you know, get up and play with Aiden and watch Minions with him and stuff like that. And it was like maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon. My body started like shutting down. I felt really weak, and I kind of felt off, and I called my dad and stuff. I was like, you know, something's wrong. I don't feel right. Well, that day I ended up having a seizure, and I was so scared, and I was like, look, I need you to come and get me. I called my dad. I was like, I need you to come and get me. So he came and got me, and I ended up staying at my parents' house for the night, actually, the whole day and night. But sorry, I'm moving the camera a lot. I just fell off. After that, it was like the end of December. I had my last chemotherapy treatment, in January, but it was the end of December, and yeah, I started feeling really good and all that, and it came down to the beginning of January, and I went to my last chemo appointment, and it was like the best ever. I felt so good. I felt excited to be done with chemo. I did lose my hair, by the way. I started losing my hair in September of last year, and this is how long it is now. So it's been a year and 2 months since I lost my hair, and hopefully this time around I don't have to go through chemo, and I don't have to lose my hair. The medicine I'm on now, my hair's starting to thin out a little bit, but I'm not losing like chunks of it. But yeah, that's like bits and pieces of my cancer story. So maybe I'll make another video and tell you about this time. So that's all. Bye.